Many people see a plant beginning to weaken, leaves becoming pale, growth slowing, and their first reflex is to buy fertilizer. At the same time, every day they throw away rice washing water, eggshells, banana peels, thinking those things are too weak to make a difference. But in many cases, it is precisely those discarded items that create a faster reaction than synthetic fertilizers, not after several weeks, but within 24 to 72 hours. Studies on soil microorganisms show that the initial decomposition stage of organic matter can release soluble forms of nutrients and activate the microbial system around the roots almost immediately. The problem is, that effect does not occur in the way most people think. In reality, most plants become weaker after being fertilized with kitchen waste not because of a lack of nutrients, but because another process is taking place underground, a process that, if misunderstood, will inadvertently cause the plant to stop absorbing nutrients at the very moment you are trying to help it. And that is exactly where most diagnoses begin to go wrong. When a plant begins to develop yellow leaves or slows its growth, many people assume the soil has been depleted, so they directly add kitchen waste, rice washing water, vegetable scraps, even leftover rice, with the expectation of immediately supplying nutrients. What is easily observed is that after 2 to 3 days, the condition does not improve. In fact, the roots may have a slight sour smell, the soil becomes more compacted, and the leaves continue to lose vitality. The common reaction is to think that one has not fertilized enough. But the problem is not in the quantity. It lies in the state of the material when it is introduced into the soil. In the first 24 to 48 hours after burying fresh kitchen waste, decomposition occurs under low oxygen conditions, especially in small pots or soil with high water retention. Microorganisms shift to anaerobic decomposition, producing ethanol, organic acids, and ammonia, compounds that can disrupt root activity. This is the stage when roots do not absorb nutrients effectively, even though nutrients are beginning to appear in the soil. A commonly misunderstood point is this. Growers see the plant weakening and assume it is a sign of more severe nutrient deficiency. In reality, in many cases this is a sign that the root system is being temporarily inhibited, not due to lack, but due to an inability to transport. Notably, this damage often does not appear immediately. In the first 48 to 72 hours, the plant may still retain its green color, but cellular water pressure begins to decrease, and the leaves lose turgidity before changing color. This is an early signal that most people overlook. And it is precisely at this stage that most wrong decisions occur, adding more nutrients to a root system that is losing its ability to process them. What many people do not see is this. Kitchen waste is not a direct nutrient source for plants, at least not yet. Before it becomes something roots can absorb, it must go through an important intermediate step. If this step is skipped, the entire logic of feeding the plant begins to go wrong at the root. An easily observable fact is that after a few days of adding kitchen waste into the soil, the surface may become more moist, sometimes with a slight odor, and the plant does not respond as expected. Many people conclude, kitchen waste is not strong enough to feed plants. But that conclusion overlooks an important intermediate step, a step that the plant completely depends on, but you cannot see. Plants do not absorb kitchen waste. Plants only absorb dissolved ions. Most of the nutrients in vegetable peels, leftover rice, or fruit skins exist in complex organic forms. Before roots can use them, they must be broken down by microorganisms into simple inorganic forms such as nitrate, NO3, ammonium, NH4, phosphate, PO4 superscript 3, and potassium ions, K. This process is called microbial mineralization, and it does not happen immediately. Under conditions of sufficient oxygen and a balanced carbon-nitrogen ratio, this process can begin producing available nutrients within about 48 to 72 hours. But if the carbon ratio is too high, for example, with a lot of rice or mature vegetable scraps, microorganisms will hold nitrogen for their own growth, causing the plant to be temporarily deficient even though the total nutrient content in the soil is increasing. This phenomenon is called immobilization, and it is often mistaken for nutrient-poor soil. Another point that is often overlooked, the zone around the roots, the rhizosphere, is a place of constant competition between microorganisms and the plant. When you add fresh organic matter, you are not only feeding the plant, but also activating an entire biological system. If this system is not yet stable, microorganisms will dominate first, using oxygen and nutrients faster than the roots. This explains a paradox. The soil may become richer in organic matter after adding kitchen waste, but the plant becomes weaker in the short term. What many people miss is this. The effectiveness of kitchen waste does not depend on the material itself, but on its state of transformation, and the speed at which the microbial system converts it into a form the plant can use. When this point is misunderstood, every subsequent action, even if it appears beneficial, can run counter to the plant's actual needs. Many people use rice washing water because they think it contains light nutrients, like a diluted form of fertilizer. A common observation is that after a few applications, the soil seems more loose, and the plant looks slightly greener. But when used continuously, especially for 2 to 3 consecutive days, the soil begins to develop a slight odor, the surface becomes easily compacted, and the plant slows down again. The common reaction is to increase the amount or frequency, assuming the effect is not strong enough. The misunderstanding lies in the interpretation. Rice washing water does not function as a direct nutrient source. Its main components are dissolved starch and a small amount of B vitamins. Within 24 to 48 hours after being introduced into the soil, this starch becomes an easily digestible carbon source for microorganisms. As a result, microbial respiration activity increases sharply. You are activating the microbial system, not fertilizing the plant. When this system functions properly, sufficient oxygen, well-aerated soil, it accelerates mineralization, releasing nitrate and phosphate faster than the baseline level. But if the soil has high moisture or poor aeration, that same amount of starch will push the system toward anaerobic decomposition. In that case, instead of supporting the roots, it produces organic acids and ethanol in the root zone, which is exactly why many people notice a slight sour smell after 1 to 2 days. The correct adjustment is not to water more, but to change the state before introducing it into the soil. When rice washing water is left to sit for 12 to 24 hours under aerated conditions, microorganisms begin consuming part of the starch, reducing the load of rapidly decomposable carbon. At that point, the solution becomes a more stable activator, less likely to cause oxygen shock in the root zone. The key point: the effectiveness of rice washing water does not lie in the amount of nutrients it introduces, but in how it regulates the activity rate of the microbial system over the next 24 to 48 hours. And that rate determines whether the plant receives nutrients or is blocked from them. A familiar observation: you sprinkle crushed eggshells around the base, and after a few weeks, you see no clear difference. Young leaves still curl slightly, leaf tips burn, signs often attributed to calcium deficiency. The common conclusion is that the plant is not lacking calcium, or that eggshells are too weak to have an effect. But the error lies in the timing and the form in which calcium exists. Eggshells are primarily calcium carbonate, CaCO3, a form that is nearly insoluble in water at neutral pH. Under normal soil conditions, the rate at which C2 is released from CaCO3 is very slow, not 2 to 3 days, but potentially weeks to months, depending on acidity and microbial activity. Therefore, for acute issues such as deformation of young leaves within 48 to 72 hours, eggshells are almost unable to contribute. A common incorrect response is to add more eggshells. This does not resolve the speed issue, because the limitation lies in solubility, not quantity. The adjustment point lies in converting calcium into a mobile form. When eggshells are treated with a mildly acidic environment, such as a diluted vinegar solution, CaCO3 reacts to form calcium acetate, a soluble form that can supply C2 within 24 to 48 hours. Only then does calcium truly exist in the soil solution, ready to move with the plant's water flow. But even when Ca2 is available, many people still see no improvement. The reason is that calcium does not move freely like nitrate or potassium. It depends on the transpiration stream. Under conditions of high humidity, poor ventilation, or overwatering, this flow decreases, and calcium cannot reach the young tissues where it is needed most. The often overlooked point is this: the issue is not only whether calcium is present, but whether it is moving in the correct direction within 24 to 72 hours. And that is why the same material, eggshells, can be completely ineffective in one pot, yet make a clear difference in another. The difference does not lie in the material itself, but in how it is transformed and the transport conditions within the plant. A familiar observation: the plant flowers poorly, leaf edges are slightly burned, growth is slow. Many people immediately attribute this to potassium deficiency and bury banana peels with the expectation of a quick supplement. After 3 to 5 days, there is almost no noticeable change. The usual conclusion is, the deficiency is worse than I thought, so they continue adding more. The misunderstanding lies in the rate and form of release. Banana peels have a high potassium content, but most of it exists within organic cellular structures. When buried directly, potassium does not leak out within 24 to 48 hours. It requires microbial decomposition to break down plant tissues before becoming soluble K ions. Under typical potting soil conditions, this process takes weeks, too slow for acute problems. A common incorrect response is to increase the amount of banana peels, but this instead raises the load of fresh organic matter, leading to oxygen consumption and slowing root activity, exactly what you are trying to avoid. The adjustment point is to change the state before introducing it into the soil. When banana peels are cut into small pieces and soaked in water for 24 to 48 hours, a portion of free potassium and soluble compounds begins to diffuse into the solution. The effect is stronger when crushed or blended because the surface area increases, shortening the release time. At that point, you are no longer fully dependent on slow decomposition in the soil. But there is a detail often overlooked. Potassium does not create a deep green color like nitrogen, so its effect is not always immediately visible. The primary role of K is to regulate osmotic pressure and stomatal activity, affecting how the plant retains water and responds to stress. Within 24 to 72 hours after sufficient potassium is available, the typical sign is that leaves maintain better turgidity at midday before you see changes in color. The key point is this: banana peels are only useful when you can control the speed at which they are converted into a soluble form. Otherwise, you are adding a nutrient source that is real but arrives too late for the problem the plant is facing. Initial observation: the same kitchen waste, yet some people see plant responses within a few days, while others find the soil quickly develops odors and the roots weaken. The difference does not lie in the type of material, but in whether it has been pre-processed. Most people bury it directly. That is the step that forces the microbial system in the pot to handle everything from the beginning, often under low oxygen conditions. The alternative approach is to move the decomposition process outside the pot, into a controlled environment. When vegetable waste is cut into small pieces, mixed with a simple sugar source, brown sugar/molasses, and sealed for 5 to 7 days, lactic acid bacteria begin to dominate. Within about 72 to 120 hours, the pH drops to around 3.5 to 4.5, proteins are broken down into amino acids, and some minerals are converted into soluble forms. You are predigesting the material before it reaches the root zone. A common mistake is using this solution undiluted. At high concentrations, organic acids and osmotic pressure can shock the roots. The correct adjustment is to dilute it at a ratio of 1 to 100 to 1 to 200, 10 to 20 milliliters per 1 liter of water, and apply it to already moist soil. Within 24 to 48 hours after application, microbial activity increases in a controlled manner without shifting into anaerobic conditions as happens with direct burial. An important sign: a properly prepared solution will have a mildly sour smell, not a rotten one. Bubbles appear in the first 1 to 3 days and then gradually decrease, indicating that fermentation has stabilized. If it smells foul or becomes slimy, the system has shifted to undesirable decomposition and should not be used. The crucial point is that you are no longer adding waste into the soil, but introducing a solution that has already been transformed, where most of the microbial work has occurred outside. This completely changes the first 24 to 72 hours after application. The roots do not have to endure the initial inhibition phase, and that is the difference many people fail to recognize when comparing the two approaches. A common observation: after applying natural methods, the plant shows an initial response and then stalls. The soil becomes heavier, and sometimes a thin film appears on the surface or an unusual odor develops. The typical reaction is to continue adding more rice washing water, more fermented solution, assuming the system is lacking. But in many cases, the plant weakens not because of insufficient input, but because the root system has been overloaded with processing. The core misunderstanding is evaluating based on the amount added, rather than the state of the root zone in the 24 to 72 hours after each application. The first mistake is the accumulation of dissolved salts. Even from organic sources, once converted into ions, K, NO3, and H4, they still contribute to the soil's EC. When EC rises rapidly in small pots, osmotic pressure changes, making it difficult for roots to absorb water, manifested as leaves wilting at midday, even when the soil is still moist. This is not a lack of water, but an inability to take in water. The second mistake is localized oxygen depletion. Each time a carbon-rich solution, rice washing water, fermented solution, is added, microbial respiration increases over 24 to 48 hours. If the soil retains a lot of water or the pot has poor aeration, oxygen in the root zone is consumed faster than it can diffuse back in. The roots enter a stress state, reducing nutrient uptake, even when nutrients are available. The third mistake is pH fluctuation. Fermented solutions have low pH, typically 3.5 to 4.5. If used continuously without sufficient dilution or without alternating with plain water, the root zone pH can drop rapidly, reducing phosphate uptake and inhibiting beneficial microorganisms. Conversely, overusing untreated eggshells pushes pH toward alkalinity, locking up micronutrients. A detail often overlooked. These signs do not appear immediately. In the first 48 to 72 hours, the plant may still seem fine, only to begin wilting or slightly yellowing afterward, at which point many people add more, unintentionally compounding the pressure on the root system. The key point is, with biological inputs, timing matters more than dosage. Each application requires a rest period for the microbial system and roots to stabilize. Ignoring this rhythm not only reduces effectiveness, you are creating conditions where the very things considered beneficial become inhibitory factors. And that is why many recovery cases stall exactly at the stage where they should have progressed. A familiar observation: 2 pots use the same type of natural fertilizer in the same dosage, yet one shows a clear response within 48 to 72 hours while the other remains almost unchanged. The usual conclusion is differences in plant species or fertilizer compatibility, but the determining factor lies in what you cannot see: the state of the root zone at the moment the material is introduced. The common assumption is that you add nutrients and the plant absorbs them directly. In reality, most nutrients only become available after passing through an intermediate layer, the microbial system in the rhizosphere. This system determines the rate of transformation, the chemical form, NO3 versus NH4, PO4 superscript 3, K, and the timing at which roots can use them. When you add the same material, one pot with a high density of active microorganisms and sufficient oxygen may undergo rapid mineralization within 24 to 48 hours. The other may fall into stagnation or anaerobic conditions, slowing or even reversing the effect. A commonly overlooked point is root microbe signaling. Roots release exudates, simple sugars, organic acids, to request microbial processing of nutrients. When you introduce a readily available carbon source, such as rice washing water or fermented solution, you are directly intervening in this signaling system. You may accelerate it or disrupt the balance if overapplied. Therefore, the same formula can produce opposite results depending on the existing state of the system. The practical implication is, there is no such thing as something that is good for all plants at a fixed dose. What must be controlled are the intermediate conditions, soil aeration, watering rhythm, and the interval between applications, so that within each 24 to 72-hour window, the microbial system transforms nutrients in the direction you need, rather than competing with the roots. Viewed this way, you are no longer optimizing the type of kitchen waste. You are adjusting a biological system where nutrients are merely the final outcome of a chain of interactions, and that is where most real differences in results are formed. What is easy to see is that you can utilize kitchen waste to improve plant health. But what is often overlooked is that effectiveness does not come from the material itself, but from how and when it is transformed within the 24 to 72 hours after being introduced into the soil. Most failures are not due to a lack of nutrients, but to introducing nutrients in the wrong state, when the root system cannot process them, or when the microbial system is competing rather than supporting. That is why the same inputs, rice washing water, eggshells, banana peels, can produce completely different results between pots. When you begin to observe in cycles what happens after 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, you will see more clearly whether the system is accelerating or being blocked. From there, you no longer add more reflexively, but adjust based on the actual state of the root zone. Kitchen waste is not a cheap solution. It is a biological input system, one that only works when you can control the processes behind it. And that is the point where the way you grow plants begins to change significantly.